What happens when you take one nerd's obsession with Ghostbusters and Lego, you smash them together and get life-size Ghostbuster props made completely from Lego.
A ghost trap?
G'day, I'm Brent Waller, and this is Waller Customs.
Alright, I'm opening that trap now. Don't look directly into the trap. I looked at the trap, Ray.
So anyone new to this channel may not be familiar, but I've got a bit of a passing fascination with Ghostbusters. I submitted the LEGO Ideas Ghostbusters set back in 2013, I believe it was, which got approved and made into the first LEGO Ideas Ghostbusters set, which then turned into, there's a firehouse, there was a Brickheads, there was LEGO Dimensions Ghostbusters, and now there's the big USC style Ghostbuster set that's come out for the Ectomobile. So I still have that fascination for them despite it being many years later. And one thing I thought I'd do to celebrate the upcoming Afterlife movie, which I'm really looking forward to, was recreate a bunch of the props in full-scale, one-to-one LEGO size. This is the first one of many coming, so keep an eye on the channel. I've got many props coming. Maybe you can see some of them hiding behind there. I won't give them away yet. But if you keep an eye on it, I'll be getting more videos coming soon. They're all built and ready to go, so they shouldn't be too far away. But for the first one, let's take a look at my ghost trap. Made famous in the original movie and seems to be revered a little bit more in Afterlife. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. So I say completely Lego, but there's two things that aren't Lego in this thing. One is the stripes down the top, which are using a hazard stickers you can find at any hardware store. It was a yellow and black stripes, but I cut the yellow off and kind of made it a little bit thinner to match the actual designs and placed them all along here. And that gave me the ability to open and close these. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do that quite so cleanly and accurately. So I thought that was a fair compromise. And the other one is there's actually lighting inside, which it's just a roll of like fairy lights, I guess you call them, LED lights on a thin wire, and I've just chucked them inside because I stole them from my son for temporarily just to make this. So as I was building, the first thing I wanted to try and get with these side panels here, which are actually, it's really hard to see, but they're actually recessed very slightly, like half a brick in, to make them stick out more like a thin panel, which is somewhat tricky to do with Lego, and it's the same on both sides. Tried to recreate the heat sinks here, but that's also very difficult. These should be a lot thinner in reality compared to the real thing, but in this case I've had to go a little bit thicker to make it actually stick together and work. And there's like a few little heatsink objects here that are just little gadgets they've used off the shelf. A little dial on the side. There's probably technical names for all these things, but I don't know what they are. And at the front we've got a bunch of little dials here. On the front that we can turn. There's like, I don't know what it actually is. There's some sort of panel at the top here. That's a display panel. I don't know what that's called either, but tried to replicate that as close as possible. And you'll see as I'm talking about this, I'm going to cut away to some shots of a one-to-one prop I built a few years ago. It's a 3D printed prop using Sean Charlesworth's instructions, which you can get available online. I'll pop the link in the description for that if you're after that yourself. It's a really cool trap, and I've done a custom paint job on it. And I also use that same tape for the top stripes as I did for the Ghostbuster trap, and that was what gave me the idea essentially, because I really didn't want to paint that on my 3D trap because I'm not very good at painting, and it just gave me the ability to quickly pop these on and allow this to open and close without any hassle. And then swapping over to the other side, we've got these, I don't know what you call them on the original thing. They're like a red tube tank thing. I'm not quite sure what they're supposed to be. Again, I'm sure the hardcore Ghostbusters fans out there could tell me what exactly it is. But I don't know what it's called. We've also got a little dial on the side. It also has the little wheels. But you can roll this thing across the floor. I probably wouldn't recommend smashing it too hard because some of these bits will pop off, some of these little bits and pieces. And at the back we've got a little switch there and a simulation of some of the stickers here, but I don't have any of the text or prints to be able to stick on that, so it's just kind of the red colour. And the hose outlet, which should go out to the foot pedal, which should open and close it, which I don't have for the 3D printed one, despite Sean making instructions for it. But I kind of thought this was what most people wanted to see, and it seems like in the new movie they may have made that a remote control element. It's hard to tell. It took a lot of effort to make this thing holdable, but it's actually, you can use it one-handed. You can't really hold it by the end of the handle here because there's not enough strength in the Lego to be able to do that. It's about 2 pounds and 1.25 kilos, so it's pretty hefty. It's heavier than the 3D printed one I created. So it gives you a bit of a sense of the density of Lego and how heavy this stuff can get, especially when you're bulking it out to try and make it holdable with that handle. So as I mentioned, it can open up, and there is lights inside that I've put inside. And you can see there, it's just a coil of wires and LEDs in there that I've just dumped in there. There's a fair bit of empty space in there despite the weight. Probably those wires do, and that lighting does add to the weight. But I felt like it's worth it to kind of give it that extra flair. I'd love to be able to put a smoke kit or something in here. It'd be really cool. But seeing as though I've got nowhere to really display at the moment because some of our shows have been cancelled, it's not really worth the effort. It's something I may add later. But yeah, I really liked the ability to get those angles here, which match what's on the original prop here, which I've not held them up directly. But you can see in one, they're pretty much one-to-one. Obviously, the paint job's a bit more realistic on the real thing, and the metals pop a bit more. Having that there was a huge help in building this. If I tried to do this off pictures, it's a lot of guesswork, and when I do stuff like that and I'm doing it based on photos, I tend to take a picture of it and then I'll overlay it in Photoshop or something to see if I've got the proportions right, because sometimes you can't really eyeball it or the perspective can throw your eye out. So in this case, it was really handy having these on hand, and a couple of other props that you'll see coming up for the Ghostbusters celebration, I'll call it. You'll see some I've used one-to-one props, actually I don't want to spoil it, there's more props coming. I did use props for some of them, and some of them I had to use based on photos, and I've really tried hard not to order new parts for any of these builds, despite being really tempted, because some new parts that I could have ordered would have made this a bit more realistic, and same with the other stuff, but I really wanted to try and save money and do it just with the collection I've got, which meant pulling apart some of my other builds, which you may have seen the Batman build in the last video. And I think that wraps it up. Keep an eye on the channel because I've got that new stuff coming soon. Maybe you can see it behind me. And there's other stuff that is not seen behind me, which is coming. So I want to try and get a video out. I won't say every few days, but maybe once a week leading up to the release. And there's some cool stuff. It's not just all props. I've got some new builds, one with instructions coming, and some sort of recreations of famous scenes coming as well. So keep an eye on the channel and check it out. Hope you liked the video. See you next time.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. Did you see it? What is it? We got it! What is it? Will there be any more of them?
Sir, what you had there was what we refer to as a focused, non-terminal repeating phantasm, or a class 5 full roaming vapor.
Real nasty one, too.